Now it's connecting.
I think I'm going to have to go in and pee already. I'm doing a pee fest the last couple of days.
There we are. I can see myself at any rate.
Cool.
Yay! Says an excellent connection.
Here we go.
Well, you can tell whether my voice drops off.
Well, only if I've got it.
Well, right. If you have it on, then I'll be echoing all over the place, so that would be kind of weird. So we're waiting for everybody to join us. Hey, guys. We did that at the same time.
But I had more capitals in mine.
That's true. I wasn't trying to do capitals because I was trying to keep my fingers from having to be too involved in the process. So we have a few people, only 3 so far. And 1 like, all right. Now 2 again. Hi, Azusa, Dragon, Alzusa. How you doing? Nice to see ya. Or see your words at any rate. It's too early for this. Hello, I have sore throat today. Well, I guess it's a good thing you don't have to talk. And you can type with a sore throat. I'm sorry that you're under the weather, though. Sore throats are no fun. Canary's here. Hi, Canary. So today is like Lammas Lunasa for the northern hemisphere and Emulk for the southern hemisphere, for those who use the Celtic names, or, you know, February 1st/2nd, if it was up here, it's when we would be doing it. Thank you both. You are both okay.
Good today.
Thank you. Hope you are both okay. Yes, we are good today. Yes, thank you. Things are moving along.
Sorry.
He's over there making moving sounds, like the wind, apparently. So, well, you know, we're just a bunch of cut-ups over here. What do you guys want to talk about today? I actually got 2 videos up, so we have potential subjects there. As far as the price of magic and figuring out your purpose, or any other subject, or the fact that this is Lammas Lunasa and or Emulk, depending on where you live. Hi, Jonathan. He's one of the ones for the Emulk.
I waved.
Ian waved at you from over there, silently. Sherilyn says, hello, everyone. Hi, Sherilyn. How are you doing today? Starting to get some of our usuals and a few new ones. I don't remember seeing Sherilyn before. Of course, sometimes my memory's not what it's meant to be, or what I'd like it to be, or whatever. Canary says hi to you, John.
Well, I'm glad I don't have photographic memory sometimes.
That could be a burden to remember.
Okay.
Absolutely. You remember more stuff than the average person anyway, from way, way back from when you were little.
I do remember early stuff, yeah.
Yeah, some really early stuff. So that's like remarkable. Quilt? Is that Quill? Hi, Siofra. How's your day going? I went swimming with my daughter, so got some exercise in, and I got in as soon as I was supposed to be able to get in, and out when I was able to, or supposed to, and so I could get back here to talk to you guys. So I've done my exercise for the day. I'm glad that the pool is still open. Apparently you're not supposed to have more than 2 people in the showers right now, probably because our COVID numbers are going up. So hopefully this doesn't mean they're going to start shutting the pool down. But I go when they have laps, so everybody is pretty separated from each other, and I feel pretty safe with that. Spirit Incarnate says, hi, Siofra, Ian, and everyone else. Hi, Spirit Incarnate. Sherilyn Q says, yeah, I'm new to your channel. Oh, good. I didn't forget you, so that's a good thing. That's a good sign. Welcome. Coming to a live show is always fun. You never know what's going to happen. It's just sort of, whatever we decide to make of it. One of the things I enjoy about it, I like free-flowing conversation and surprises. So, Ryder says, hello everyone. Hello Siofra, Ian, and granddaughter, if she is there. Well, she's not here in the temple right now. She is in our house, however. She's working today, so she isn't here, but it's a good space for her to be. It's a lot calmer for her here. And her bunny rabbit, whose name is Nibbler, has adapted to being in our house, and so he's more active now and not depressed like he was the first couple of days. He wasn't very happy because she keeps moving from place to place to place, and he's just like, ah. And he misses her when she's not around, so I'm learning some rabbit.
Stop that.
You're making noises.
I'm not doing it. It's
Your table is making noises. But yeah, so it's interesting having her here, and my philosophy with her being here is whatever she needs. So we're not doing a lot of talking right now. She's just hanging out in the room with her bunny rabbit when she's around, and just kind of being decompressed, I think. So she's not like being forced to perform or communicate or explain herself or anything like that, and I think she needs that right now. Ryder says, lovely, I'm glad they can chill there. Yeah, the bunny rabbit's pretty cute too. He's a little black bunny, and he's pretty adorable. It's too early for this, says, I'm drawn to your broom in the corner. Oh, that one over there, that's my version of a besom. Get that over here, see if you can see it better. Yeah. This is my homemade broom. Says it's not an optimal resolution at the moment. So I bought a bunch of the reeds. I didn't harvest them myself, but then I decorated them with different colors of paper and twine and whatnot. You're offline. It said we were offline for a minute.
What?
Yeah. So hopefully I'm not losing anybody.
Oh.
Says the connection is strong. We're at 2.4. So if we lose you people, it'll be something weird like that.
I saw it freeze just a couple of times.
Yeah. Okay, so Ryder says letting the energy do its thing. Jonathan says, I would enjoy a conversation about the price of magic. I read of Blood and Bones. The author touches on some darker workings. I made a list of darker workings and realized they would all hurt me. Hurt me most. Well, that's probably a good thing not to do that then, if it would hurt you. It's too early for this. It says that's beautiful. Thank you. And since it's a ritual broom, it doesn't have to actually be able to sweep up the floor. I use it for energy workings and stuff and go around. And yes, I'm not blue today. It says our current resolution is 960 by 540, whatever that means.
So?
I don't know. It says which is not optimal. It just has that thing that pops up.
It is optimal.
It is optimal. Okay. Their opinion.
Well, I was wondering if you had forgotten to turn off Nextcloud.
Oh, I don't know. Since you rebooted the computer, it doesn't look like it's up there, but then
Okay.
I'm offline again.
Really? It says you're offline again?
It did briefly. So, hey, what's wrong with blue? Nothing. I love blue. It's just like I'm not blue most of the time.
Got it adjusted right.
Yeah. He found something in there that had been maladjusted. It's a maladjusted camera thingy that I don't know how it happened. Canary says, hey there, where is Mrs. Blue? Props to anyone who gets it. So Mar says, laugh out loud. Hello, everyone. Ryder says, you have not gone offline, though. Working good. Oh, good. It's just at our end it's popping up with this message, which we haven't seen before, so it's one of those things. You never know. I mean, last weekend we lost the internet for like 30 hours or something like that, so hopefully no one's out there digging and hitting in the fiber cable somewhere So if that ever happens, that's what's going on. It's not you, it's not us, it's some other forces. Ruth says, hi all. Hi, Ruth. So back to Jonathan, what exactly do you want to talk about with the price of magic? I mean, that was a pretty complicated subject to start with. And, you know, the video that I did on it, it's like energy exchange is definitely always going to be a thing as far as, you know, the amount of time and energy and focus and concentration and effort you put into something is an exchange to start with. So if you have other things, then, you know, let us know more specifically what you'd like to talk about. I don't like things that make me cut myself, so I'm not into blood magic.
Oh, right.
I did blood magic when I could make my own blood.
Yeah, that thing about everybody slicing their palms open on TV, what's with that? Instead of just poking a needle in the end of your finger and getting a little drop of blood, everybody's got to take their knife and slice.
Slice open the palm. Yeah, that sucks.
And it's always their active hand. If they're right-handed, it's the right hand. If they're left-handed, it's their left.
Who knows?
I think you'd at least slash open the one you didn't need to use all the time.
You'd think. But anyway.
Sorry.
They're movies. They're crazy. So Canary says, what does anyone know about Lemurian crystals? Ordered one and it's on its way. Don't know. How would they know for sure that they were from Lemuria? That's always a good question. I guess you'll find out when you see one. Mar says, I have been away, but you seem to be in good spirits, Siofra. I hope everything has been going well on your end. Well, pretty good. I mean, we're still dealing with the stupidity of the medical system trying to get Ian's surgery approved. But I'm one of those people, I'm good at focusing on the details and figuring out exactly what's going on so they can't, like, confuse me with what they don't understand that's happening. So that works in my favor. But, you know, life is like that. There's always something you have to take care of. If it's not mowing the lawn or doing the laundry or taking care of bureaucracies, it's something else. It's too early for this, as I faint at the sight of blood. Yeah, I'm not all that fond of it myself. I don't look when they take it most of the time, just in case. Although I've never actually been queasy. I thought I might be, so I thought it'd be good, best to avoid.
I don't know, I just find it uncomfortable to look at it.
Yeah, like
Frankly,
they're taking
just,
my life force out of my body right now. I'm not sure if this is good, but yeah. So Quill says, TV is so dramatic about magic, it's funny sometimes. Yeah, it is. I mean, it certainly makes, it misrepresents what real magic is like and how it works, and it can be pretty dramatic. I mean, I've had some amazing experiences, like the one in Texas when I opened up the portal between here and the other side, and ball lightning exploded over my head. That was plenty dramatic, and I've never seen that in a movie, so it was different from that. I thought, yeah, this would make the best special effects I've ever seen in my life, but, you know, but yeah. Ryder wants to know how you're doing, Ian.
Oh, I'm doing fine. Why am I not? Okay, I guess my chat is, like, weird or something, but I'm doing great. Just waiting for my operation, then good to go.
Get him the correct one.
Yep.
You want to make sure he gets the right one.
Yep.
So Canary says, how would they know for sure it came from Lemuria? Had to put the thought in my head. Sorry. When I was channeling, Lemuria was definitely part of the conversation. I mean, you know, predate Lemuria was first, or Mu, depending how you want to say it. And then there was Atlantis, and then there was us, you know, so. But, I mean, yeah. I don't know. They come up with stuff. Jonathan says, I would like to discuss other people's experiences with the cost of magic, I suppose. So Ryder says that Ian, my previous father-in-law, had a hernia and he was in so much pain. It's definitely not fun. Canary says, I can't find any magic books I'm drawn to, and it's irritating me. Feel like there is one I need to find or something. And I ruined it for you. I'm so sorry. That's just me. What can I say? I always ask the hard questions. So, yeah, so Jonathan wants to know if anyone else has had experience with that, cost of magic. Mara says, speaking of blue, when you work with the she, have you felt or seen any beings that were blue with white or blonde hair? And to you, does it feel like there may have been an alien presence to them? I don't feel an alien presence with either the she or the fae types of beings that I've met. There is definitely one that has long white hair, a type that has long white hair, but is flesh colored to me, because in your spirit you can look like anything anyway. He's the one who rides a stag, and he comes around my house from time to time. And I think he's gone into my room maybe once to say hi. I saw a fairy I called a blue fairy, but she was like dressed in blue. I don't recall her face being blue. And she was by a hydrangea, a blue hydrangea. That was sort of a surprise meeting. It's like, oh, look, there's this human-sized female figure in blue by this flower. Hi, So, but no, when I encounter those particular spirits, there's no alien energy to them at all. They belong here. They feel like they belong here to me.
The number of Indian ones that appear blue.
Well, in India, right? Yeah, they certainly have some blue deities and gods and goddesses and stuff. So, Jonathan says, when I did my list of dark moon workings, what the author called them, the stuff that I thought of, like having an ex think of me or a previous employer get what they gave, it would all cost me most. Yeah, some of those things can really backfire on you as far as it goes.
Well, the cost of magic really is the own karma you incur, and it can be positive karma.
As well as negative.
As well as negative, yeah.
Charity says, hello there. Hi, Charity. Canary says, she is meant to be physic, so it better be from Lemuria. Oh, she's supposed to be psychic, okay. So it better be from Lemuria.
Okay, then.
Well, if it's not, you can ask your money back. Ask her for evidence. No, don't do that. It probably won't work anyway. Yeah. So Canary says, when I saw a fairy, its skin was yellow. I haven't actually noticed particular colored skins. I mean, when they show themselves to me, like after dark, when I'm going to sleep, it's more like a line drawing that I'm seeing at that point rather than color. And when the 6 gnomes decided to line up and show me their faces, each face was so distinct. They had different sized noses and different kinds of wrinkles and different hair and all this other stuff. But it was more like a line drawing. And what they wanted was to know if I could see the differences between them. And yes, they were all very different visages that they showed me. But that's the thing about something that doesn't have a body. The form that you see it in is not necessarily its true form in some cases, unless you're really experienced and you can make that happen. Okay, so Jonathan says, there would have been a cost to me in performing any of those workings. The healing circle didn't cost me energy, but I think contacting some other forces has drained my energy. Okay.
Yeah, it can.
Well, sometimes it's a matter of what you're used to and what you're able to hold, and it's like if you're gonna start running, you don't start with a 50-mile run and go full speed. That would, you just drop dead before you were done. And so part of that is sort of training the psychic muscles, the energy body of your own to be able to hold that kind of energy for longer periods of time. So it's an adjustment stage. That's what I would think anyway. It's like using a muscle you've never known you had, kind of thing.
And as I found out, as far as energies appearing alien and that type of thing, I noticed that some ones that were definitely not alien feel that way because one of them I can think of had a human form, but the face wasn't quite right. And so looking at it just gave you the feeling that something was wrong because the energy was so different than human. And it was alien. Kind of like when I tried to work for a while to try to contact the consciousness of our cat. And I did.
Oh, yeah.
And then it kind of creeped me out because the experience was so alien. You know, how the cat pictured itself. You know, no, a totally non-human being like that. It was just a strange sensation.
Yeah, so alien to humans is a lot. There's a whole range of things that would be considered alien to humans. And I certainly have encountered some beings that had no human connection or energy at all. So, you know, like that big thing with all the teeth and the growling and stuff that I met, or the dragon with the two heads, one at either end. I mean, depends on your definition of alien, but they were still from here. I mean,
but yeah, well, it could feel very alien feeling.
Right, but they were definitely from Earth, so they weren't like from another life system somewhere else. So let's see. So Canary says, I'm going to email for evidence now. And if she says anything, give her a link to this video. You're going to get me in trouble, aren't you? Mara says, okay, thank you for sharing. I'm just comparing information. Jonathan says, excellent advice, but you don't know where the line is until you cross it. Well, that's not necessarily true. I mean, it depends on who you are, but I mean, okay, for me, I have this place inside of me that is like, I don't know what to call it exactly, but it's kind of like an eye into my universe or my universal self or something like that. And if I'm thinking of doing something, I show it to that place. And depending on how it reacts to it, I know whether it's a good idea or a bad idea. Because if it's, you know, I sort of think of it as if it's something that increases life and goes in the direction of more life, then it's a good thing. And if it's decreasing life and going in the direction of less life, it's a bad thing. But that's not quite it either, because it's not like life, it's like universe, kind of hard to describe. And so when you can get in touch with that spot inside of you, it's kind of like your own guru or master or whatever.
I would call it the inner guru, and that's what they speak of a lot of times when they're speaking of the inner guru.
And that helps me make fewer mistakes. Not that I still can't make mistakes, but at least, you know, if I'm thinking of doing something and I look at it from that point of view, the answer is usually pretty clear. And then I can do that without doing it. I can go like, okay, let's not do that. Maybe it means I did it in another life and I'm remembering it, who knows, but still, it works. So, Amara says, I agree, Ian, good point. Canary says, John O, you need to start feeling the energy of the spells before you cast. That's what I do. That's sort of what I was talking about too, but slightly differently. Ryder says, I would love to be able to run. I can dance and rave up all night long, fast paced, but I can run for 2 minutes and feel like I'm going to pass out. I can't run. I've never been able to run. In high school, when, you know, everybody was running, I was always dead last. I think it took me an extra 20 minutes to go around the track than everybody else. I don't have fast twitch fibers or even slow. I think I have no twitch fibers is what I have, if there is such a thing. It's too early for this, says Canary, and me too. Canary says, it's too early for this. Definitely the way to go about spellcasting. John Quinn says, hello all, this is my first live event. Long time lurker. Well, hello, John.
Thank you for speaking up.
That's right. Welcome. And for taking the chance of saying hi. Welcome to our live experience here. So, yeah, I guess that was the end of that little thread. Everyone's saying hi to Quinn. Gary Plumbo says, Loretta and Gary say happy Lunasa to everybody. Yes, and happy Emolk to Jonathan and all the people in Australia as well. All those guys. Laura says hi to John. Welcome to our little group here. We try to be a comfortable space for people to talk about things. No jumping on other people's heads unless they're being really bad, which mostly they're not.
Nah.
We have very well-behaved people who come to our live show.
Which is great.
Yes, it makes it much easier for us. Jonathan says to Canary, great advice, kind of what Siofra is busy saying, but like the road opening I did last week, which drained me. I had done my preparations. I have to dive in sometimes, or I will live in prep work. Yeah, that's true. That's
Yeah, and those things can drain you. Just even if you're like Reiki, even though you're not channeling your own energy and you're channeling the Reiki energy in particular, it still takes a certain effort to do it. And even though that's a healing thing, it's still tiring and draining to a certain extent.
Well, yeah, body has a certain finite amount of energy available for doing stuff, and brain work is using up energy. Focus and concentration definitely tires the body with the brain because it's work.
More attention to it.
Yeah.
Of course, that's better for results.
Canary says, happy what? That's Lunasaw. That's Lugnassadh is how they spell Lunasaw, and it is the Celtic festival, the first harvest festival, named after the maybe sun god Lu in Ireland, although some recent information that's come to light makes it appear as if he's really not a sun god, a solar god, but maybe a comet god, which I thought was fascinating when I watched that documentary about it. But people think of him as a solar deity, and so this is the time of year when people celebrate the first harvest, when people are like harvesting corn and wheat, making bread, and simple things you can do to celebrate this particular feast. And it's also called Lammas, which means bread, I think, something like that. I knew it the other day, but yeah. So that's what that is. And Emulk is the Celtic word for Bridget's Day. Speaking of which, I brought my Bridget along to show you, so I'll show you that in a minute. I have her mounted and everything. Ryder says it will be draining. It is just like training for anything. You will get tired very quickly, but your endurance levels increase. And the more fitter you get, the less likely you will be drained. Absolutely. Jonathan said, yes, Ian, and Paleo Hebrew is messed up mentally draining. Makes little sense. Looks super cool, though.
Well, it does help you contact those ancient forces associated with it, since the Hebrew is supposed to be the letters are supposed to represent and have created the universe itself.
The universal language. Yes. It's too early for this, says, I'm tired all the time. I'm sorry. Okay, so I'm going to show you Bridget. Since we have a bit of a short break here. I've got her mounted. Wait till I can see her so I know that I actually got her in frame here. Okay, get her closer so you can see her better. I have her in my bedroom right now, so. Yep, see? And I did that all myself. This is with my beads. So I'm pretty tickled with the result. I'm getting ready to do my tree. All right. So, Ryder says little and often. Jonathan says, Ryder, was that your experience? Magic gets less draining over time? Charity says, awesome.
Well, that's mine to a certain extent. I mean, it is like training for any other sport. You don't start off going full speed. You got to kind of build up to it, and magic is no difference. And you can gain the abilities. You gain abilities to withstand forces that would tire you out, and it gets easier. So I'd say that's absolutely accurate.
Okay, so Canary says to Jono, there is draining that isn't anything negative, but if you feel like your energy is being sucked and it feels more like a hangover than just being exhausted, I don't think I'm explaining very well. I know what you mean. What I mean here, if you're using entities in your spells, you want to make sure they're not slyly sticking around and draining you. That's always a good idea. Don't need any accidental vampires,
Yeah.
attachments, etc. And Ryder says that, Jonathan, whenever I try something new, it's like starting all over again, but I did find the more I kept at it, the more second nature it became.
Yeah, and eventually doing those things over and over again magically, like, I don't recommend it as a method, but the Indian mantras that are chanted over and over and over again, they go to different levels. They reach through the 4 levels, and they get imprinted on, like it's imprinted like on the universe or a battery or something. You find that the image gets easier and easier to come up with for you. It gets easier and easier to do. It's almost like it gets engraved into the universe if you do it enough times. And if you want to go really crazy and do it as many times as the Indians do, you can get these things to operate completely automatically, so that from then on they require no willpower. You just do the gesture or say the word or whatever and it happens. And that's kind of the same way with any magical activity. The more it's repeated, the more it's going to get an imprint, and the more it's going to come down closer to material levels.
It's a good explanation.
You don't want to get too esoteric.
Well, that's actually pretty straightforward, because it's like, we talk about the universe being like a fabric of nothingness to start with, and you're creating something in the universe to interact with and drawing it to you and imprinting it on you, and repetition definitely does do that, which is why we do the healing chant 9 times, and and the more often you do a specific type of meditation, the easier it becomes, and again you're like, you're creating that blueprint for the universe and you to follow, and you're following the same blueprint, then that makes it easier.
Yeah, and basically anything you need to get going, you have to start at the Akasha. It has to manifest down to the mental plane, then through the astral plane, then through the physical plane to have a physical effect. So it takes a while to get through, and takes more and more repetitions the closer you get to the material world.
Yeah, if you think of it just like making a chair, for example, just something as simple as that, the process that has to go through in order for that to happen, it has to first come up as like something that needs to be, something that's okay to be. And then someone has to be inspired to design it. And then they have to have the energy and the willpower and the passion to build it. And then they have to have the materials to make it with, and the skills to be able to use the materials in the way that they've imagined they want it to be before it becomes a chair. So everything in existence has to go through this process before we even see it. So when we're working with imaginary or subtle forces, things that other people don't see, you can't have somebody sit in their lap kind of thing, because it's not that kind of a physical object. Then the building of it is a different form of building, but it's still the same principle, the same idea.
Yeah, it's like it gets engraved in the universe. It really does, as long as you're using your willpower to do it.
So Jonathan says, thanks guys, great insight, and yes, it is like a hangover from being spiritually thrown off balance. So Canary said at Jono, that's not the normal kind of draining, I don't think. I think you're working with something you need to get rid of if you want this to stop. Guess it all depends. Ryder says, like learning a script for a school play, or if you're doing theater or TV and film, at first it's like, where the hell do I start? How will I remember all this? But it starts to become a part of you. And somehow you have learned half a book and are performing on stage. This is true, too. Another good example of doing that kind of stuff. And Canary says at Jono, like the draining I get from doing Reiki is 1,000% different thing from, say, the times I felt drained from something negative. It's vital to understand the difference. Gary Plumbino says Loretta was outside at 2 in the morning, that the energy was a little spooky. Was that a spirit? I don't know. I wasn't there. It could have been a moth. I don't know if it was spooky. You were there, so you and Loretta have to figure out if that was a spirit or not. It could have been. I mean, at night you're more likely to run into them because you're less distracted by things. During the day, we're all running around busy and doing stuff.
There's a lot less conflicting energies around.
Right, not as many people up thinking, making the thought forms, bogging up the network, as it were. Jonathan says, not yet, Canary. It was a very heavy ceremonial working, which was very new to me and took weeks of prep. I will give it another week before I call the Ghostbusters, but I have them on speed dial. Apparently there's a new one coming out. I just saw yesterday. But yeah, I mean, the ceremonial stuff is definitely a whole different level.
It can be a lot of work.
A lot of work.
Yeah.
And I have a weird brain in that I can just jump in and start doing it with Ian when we're doing the ceremonial stuff. And like, used to know it or something. And I just like tap into that, and my focus and concentration is there.
It's definitely a valid approach, but that's basically my only objection to it is it's so much work. Because it is, if you do it right.
Well, we got a pretty good response that one time when we were trying to actually get a materialization.
Yeah.
And, you know, because I'm clairvoyant, it helps, because then I can see what the spirits are doing and trying to do versus, you know, someone who's doing it and doesn't have that ability, so they don't know for sure if it's working or not. And so, you know, that's interesting to have other people in your group that have different levels and different skill sets that can then add the perspective of what they see and feel to make a more complete picture of what worked and what didn't work and how it happened and so forth. Taylor says, hello everyone. Hi Taylor. Ryder says that Jonathan, maybe I ask what it was for is for. Well, there's a lot of things that those things can be for, just for being able to connect to an intelligence outside of us and learn something new. Ryder says that, Taylor, how are you? I'm great. Charity says, question, can a witch perform a ritualistic ceremony to marry herself? Well, certainly there is...
I don't see why not.
Yeah, I mean, the idea of that would be to accept yourself completely, marrying yourself.
Well, I think it means marrying somebody, but doing...
Oh, I see. You mean marry someone else and yourself together? Like, you want to marry somebody and then you want to do the ceremony to marry yourselves? Or I was thinking you were going to marry yourself. Like, you know, me, myself, and I. I'll wait and see. Is there a special magic vows? Well, any vow that you make in a magical setting is by definition a magical vow. I mean, if you're making a magical promise to somebody, I mean, I always have taken my word very seriously, so it was extremely difficult for me when I had to leave my second husband. And, you know, it's like, because all the promises that we made when we were getting married and so forth. But then, of course, I looked at it and realized he'd already broken those promises by how he was treating me. And you know, so it's a...
So Charity answered that. Apparently I was misunderstanding.
Oh, it was true. Marry, I got it right. Okay. Yes, marry yourself. Yeah, the sort of dedicating yourself to yourself, and I don't see any reason why not. Jessica says, hi, Siofra. Hi, Jessica. Charity says, stay alone, maybe solo for the rest of my life. Well, you are certainly free to do that. I mean, and there's no reason why you shouldn't be able to do that, because that is, you know, your choice. There shouldn't be like any kind of a judgment. That's one of the things when we were talking about, like, what's my purpose? It's like, nobody knows your purpose but you, and even we don't know our own purpose most of the time. We just sort of are guessing what our purpose is, and do we need to have a purpose, and is it defined by who we're with, or what we're doing, or what our job is, or how much we make, or where we live, or our level of education? And the answer is no, that's not what defines a purpose and a value. So if that's what you want to do, then I would say to do that, and then if you decide later to change your mind, you can do that too. It doesn't have to be a one thing or the other, kind of. Let's see. Did I miss anything? If it does turn out to be something you need to get rid of, don't go to a priest. 90% of them are useless. Yeah. Jessica said hi, stay alone. Alex said hi, wonderful, love, sending so much love and happiness and gratitude. Thank you very much. I appreciate that, Alex. Jonathan at Ryder, I don't want to irresponsibly give people ideas. It was a path unblocking, asking for assistance from intelligences of the moon. Yeah, and those are very specific types of things. You're trying to get in touch with one specific intelligence that's willing to help you too. So that's you'll find that out, Ryder, when you read the second book in the series of Barden's books. She has the first one coming.
Taylor wants to know about natural
And you
authority.
tell me about natural authority. Okay. So natural authority, it's one of those things, again, I understand what it is and I use it, but it's difficult to describe. And it means that basically, because you are composed of all 5 elements and because you are alive, you naturally have more authority over things that aren't than they have over you. I mean, so if you understand that you have that power of being able to tell something to go away, leave me alone, this isn't okay with me, or you need to stay over there or stay out there or whatever, they have to obey. They have to. It's a way of creating a magical boundary. It's part of what we can do with our energy. And I always knew that I had it because when I was young, I think I was like 13 or 14, somewhere in there, my brother was being harassed by something in the neighborhood. He had something grabbed his foot when he was riding his bicycle, and he saw a disembodied hand grabbing his foot, and he kind of freaked out and asked me to come with him on the ride the next morning. And when I was with him, nothing came toward us, and that's one of the effects that I've had when I'm doing paranormal investigations. Sometimes things know I'm coming and they leave before I get there, so that makes it a little bit trickier to figure out what's going on. But when we separated, he went one way and I stayed. We were both individually attacked by these things. They were like shadows, small, sort of sharp teeth kind of things. And they just kind of descended, and when they came, they made you want to throw up. So I immediately got that feeling, and then I got mad, and then I made them leave. I just went, no. And I said, if you don't leave my brother alone, I'm going to come back and you're going to be sorry. And they never bothered my brother again. So, it's, I call it natural authority because I know it's something that we all can access if we understand that we can access it. But again, it's one of those things, is like you have to know it, like in here, and say, I say this, you must do this. And some people think it's being like a bully, but it's not. It's setting boundaries. It's like, these are the boundaries of behavior that are acceptable when you are near me. And if you don't like it, then you're going to have to pay a penalty for trying to do something that I've told you not to do.
Well, you don't want animals overrunning your temple, so you don't let them in. It's
Right.
your decision to make that boundary.
Right. You make boundaries all the time in physical reality.
Pets, but
Right. And
wild animals.
And so it's sort of an extension of that. And it's because of that fifth element, the Akasha element, that we carry with us, that gives us access to slightly more. Ryder says, if anyone here actually wanted the powers or rights to marry other people, you can get a license online. I have one. I can do that, legally speaking. So, and Charity said, smiling face. Jessica says, do you know any very easy beginner spells for someone who doesn't have any special herbs or jars? Well, for one thing, a lot of spells require whatever happens to be in your cabinet, your cooking cabinet, for spices and things. And for me, I don't go around doing spells unless I need them. So, it's not like I think you should do this spell or this other spell or whatever because there's easy ingredients. It's like, if I have a need that something needs a spell in order to do, then I look and find out what I can use and how to do the spell. So I'm not sure how to answer that. The easiest and fastest spell I've ever done was putting a broom in the corner of a room and making somebody leave my house. That would be a spell that didn't require any ingredients or any jars.
Actually, when you come right down to the base of it all, it's your willpower, and what you do as a spell is a way to exercise your willpower towards the results you want. So at the very bottom, most central level of that, all you need is your willpower. But then you're welcome to use all the tools, which is the witchcraft spells and things, in order to make that come about.
It also helps you to focus and get your imagination involved and concentration and stuff like that.
No end of helpfulness, but when you really come down to it, the only thing you need is your willpower. But most people's willpower isn't strong enough just by itself without some type of ritual or something. And
solely willpower can be exhausting too.
Yeah.
Which is one of the reasons why we like to get other forces involved, because then it's not as exhausting for us. So Canary says, at Jono, sometimes doing high magic can attract loads of different beings. If it did turn out to be something there, it doesn't necessarily mean that you did anything negative. Writer says, make sure it's what you want, because divorce can be more costly than the wedding. Well, if you're marrying to yourself, I don't see how you can divorce yourself. I mean, that seems to be...
That was the joke. That's why the little icon is winking. So.
Okay. Me and my literal brain. Okay, fine. Sorry, guys. I'm so literal. And Quill says, how do you get used to practicing with others? I've never been good at group work, spell work or not, and it's hard for me. That is a difficult one, because I like group work, but it's very difficult to find the right group of people to work with that something doesn't go wrong. And if you can find a group of people that, if you have enough common ground, and a common purpose of what you're doing, and you try to keep your interactions just with the magic and keep personalities, relationships, and all this other stuff out of it as much as possible, then you can get some good group work done. If it becomes more like a family, then you have all the potential difficulties that any family might have with a group of people. And depending on where the people are at, if they're not clear, if they've got jealousies and angers and misunderstandings, projections, if they project things onto other people. I have that happen to me a fair amount in the past, where, when you're supposedly the leader of a group or whatever, projection is a pretty common problem to try and deal with from others. And so if you're not clear enough in yourself to know who you are and what you're responsible for, that can be kind of not self-destructive, but devastating, emotionally devastating. And because when you're practicing magic, in order to do it well, you have to be open and vulnerable. It's an intimate experience to practice with other people. So if you don't have people you can trust, it's better not to be doing stuff with other people. And it would be a nice experience, but then you have to weigh the possibilities there. If you're just doing like some big event though, and everyone's just going to show up and then go back home, that can work out okay. So Crudo96 says, can you tell me how I can gain more magical power? Get to know yourself, learn good boundaries, and practice. That's all any of us do. There is no shortcut. I don't think you're going to find a magic lamp that you can rub that says, hey, I now have magical powers. It's a process like everything else. And the clearer you are within yourself, and the more you work on yourself, the shadow work is important for that, the more powerful you will be. And power is not about doing things to other people. It's about having control over yourself. That's what real power is about.
Well, I'd say might even have to start as far back as defining exactly what magical power is and what that means to you.
Yeah. So, writer says that, Jonathan, that sounds fascinating. And Quill, me too. And at Quill, even in work, when I have to work as part of a team, I am still a loner. There has to be a part of you that is like reserved for just you, unless you really, really, really trust somebody. Marcus says, hi guys, love from London. Hi Marcus, thank you for joining us. Quill says that, writer, yeah, I do the same thing. I usually try to shoulder most of the work, but it'd be nice to eventually be able to actually work together with someone. Ha, yeah, that would be nice. Some of us, that's all we ever do. Nisha says, I love this story about you kicking ass on the meanie critters rescue brother. Thank you. I sure as heck didn't want to go at like 4 o'clock in the morning or whatever the heck it was that I had to get up. I was very reluctant, but I did it anyway. Canary says, do you have any insight on the God particle that people have been talking about? It's meant to be a part of yourself that's really powerful. How would we access it, etc.? I have no idea what they're talking about, because you should be able to, accessing divinity within yourself. We are all part of creation. So I don't think there's a particular particle. If you're talking about the God particle at the Hadron Collider in Switzerland, that's a subatomic particle that they're trying to find. And I suppose we might all have one of those in us, but I have no clue how to access it if that's the case. I don't know. People come up with all kinds of crap to make people look for things that may or may not be there to sell a bunch of books and everything. In fact, I was looking into the Lionsgate 8/8 thing happening, and I was just trying to find out more information about it. So I looked at this one site that's supposed to tell me about it, and there's a list of videos I can buy and books that I can buy and all this other stuff to help me ascend. And I'm like, okay, yep. There's always a way to sell anything. So, Writer says, my spirit is willing. Sometimes it would be lovely to share and feel part of something. I do a lot of solo traveling, and sometimes it would be awesome to discuss what I've experienced and seen. Yeah, I have been to some large group events, and the ones that are correct are like, that are done well are amazing. So I'm totally in with that. I went to one of Starhawk's workshops. It was an all-women's weekend, and there were about 50 women, and we didn't know each other, and we never saw each other again, and we were united completely in the ritual that she led us through, and it was an absolutely incredible experience. So Jessica says, okay, I see, so you have to build your willpower, and the tools are like training wheels. Well, yeah, they can help. And also they can absorb energy so that you can use them later and stuff. Ian said that was a good way to see it. Canary says, that's why I don't join a group. Everyone is happy and spellcasting until Philip leaves Mary for Jessica. And then you have half the group sticking pins in dolls that look like the other half. And that is true. Absolutely. We had a pretty good group going at one point in Santa Cruz, until there was a married couple, and then a single guy came in, and then the woman started having an affair with the guy, and then her and her husband broke up, then the whole group just dissolved, and that was the end of everything, because it was just absolutely messy. So that's what I mean. It's very difficult to find people that are far enough along in their development that kind of thing is less likely to happen. It's just the way it is. So Charity says, just enjoying soul-searching exploration, learning, self-discipline, healing, and learning. Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with that. Jessica laughed. Ryder says, a canary, also very true, it can get pretty nuts. Would be lovely to get genuinely close and have that bond. And Charity says, maybe when I become cleared from my abusive ex-relationship, I'll be able to one day trust another dude. Well, that is a path. Considering my history, that I can trust Ian and other people is a miracle. But one that was hard earned. I had to really work at being able to be open to the possibility so that I could trust again. And it's a rare thing to find someone that you can actually trust with your heart and not have to worry about what they might do with the information you give them. So Canary says at Ryder, it's a disaster waiting to happen. Jonathan says at Canary, I think I'm somewhat protected from backlash by being 100% confident my reasons for working are snow white pure. Are you and Ryder sensitive enough to know straight away how working went? It feels good. Taylor says, do you have role models or characters you admire? I don't know. I certainly have gotten lots of ideas from meeting other people and from seeing people and from stories and fantasy and stuff like that. But I'd have to give that some thought. Yeah, I don't know. But I've used that particular tactic to grow with. Jessica says, I'm both a Christian and a witch. I don't think God minds spellcasting because it's kind of the same as praying. The only thing I don't do is worship other deities. Well, generally speaking, that would probably be a good idea if you were a Christian, not to do that. Jonathan at Ryder says, Jonathan, a sense of accomplishment. Kudu says, same. Charity says, shadow work. Canary says, Jono, I want to say yes, but I know that I probably can and will make mistakes most of the time. I can feel the energy with what I'm doing and by reading the spell. Johnson said at Ryder, it felt good to have it done. I know that's not what you mean. I'm not sensitive enough to feel a working. I used the weeks after a working to figure out how it went based on manifestations. I see. Stillside said, is balancing my chakras and reaching inner peace worth it? I think so. Well, I mean, okay, the inner, working on yourself is worth it. It really is. However you manage to do that. And the chakra balancing, it depends on what books you're reading and how you think that's supposed to go and so forth. It's like, that's one of the reasons why I like the sacred tree meditation, because it helps to balance the chakras and even them out a little bit without trying to make them do something in particular. Because if you're supposed to be a rose and you're trying to be a lily, then you're doing, you might be doing things that you shouldn't do or don't need to do.
And just inner peace is a drastic understatement of the results that can be achieved. I mean, inner peace means, to the point, basically anything could happen to you that could happen to a person on earth at that point, and you still have something outside the human experience to hang on to. It's that stillness and that clarity. So
that overview,
it ends up freeing you from a lot of things that inhibit you that you don't even know are inhibiting you, because they're so buried deep down in you, and you get freed from all that. So it really is a much larger, more encompassing experience than just inner peace. But certainly that's one part of it, and that would be awesome by itself to attain.
Yeah. Now, having a certain amount of overview and know that it's a passing thing and it's not as important as we make things more important than they might actually be in the larger scheme of things. And that's one of the things that gets us going. So Ian says that, Jonathan, I have slow clairvoyance. It may take me days. Ryder says it's still aside. Most who do it and are trying to find inner peace would say yes. Ian says, and I rely on trying to keep my motives pure.
Speaking to Jonathan again about what he's talking about, yeah.
And Ashley Cunningham says, hi, I'm Ashley. I'm new here. Welcome, Ashley. Thank you for participating. It's always good to see new people. Canary says, intention is everything. Ryder at Stillside says, when I take a moment to look back at where I came from and how far I've come, it's a yes for sure. And that's for me as well. Concerning my childhood and young adulthood and all of when I was in my middle 20s, I felt like I'd had already a bunch of different lifetimes because of all the stuff that had happened to me. It was like, who needed to have reincarnation at that point? I'd already, in just one life, had all these different things I had to figure out how to deal with. Canary says, I think inner peace would be boring. Not the kind of inner peace we're talking about, I don't think. It's not a place where nothing happens. It's just a place where what happens doesn't knock you off your center. And
you don't have all these things that are attached, like cultural things. For instance, like our culture, the way we respond to pink and blue for little boys and pink for little girls, all those kinds of things will be left behind. And at that point, you can choose whether you want to dress a kid in red or blue. But cultural, you can choose to obey cultural relevance, but you're not stuck with it being built in automatically, making you react in ways you may not want to react because of things that have gotten taught you in the past through experiences and things.
It makes it possible for you to be more responsive and less reactive.
Yeah.
So then you can have an actual response to something and like Ian said, choose how you want to respond to whatever it happens to be. But it isn't about, it's not that idea of, what's the word, perfection? Like where you have attained something that and everything
Right,
never
like
moves
changing.
again and it never stops.
No,
That I agree would be totally boring to me.
But what happens is it puts you right in the middle of life. Rather than being separated from it by all your cultural reactions and things, you are right there, right in it, right at the time, and you can experience things fully that you can't really experience when all your thoughts and emotions and built-in background stuff is interfering with it. Sorry, I hope I didn't make that more confusing.
That's okay. And this is why you have these kind of conversations. This is a good example of how a person's interpretation and personal definition of a word can be very different from someone else's meaning of the word that they're using. Because, Canary continued on with too much inner peace kind of takes away from the human experience, which is not what we're talking about. And especially if you rely on emotions for spells, and we learn through emotion also.
Yeah, inner peace doesn't mean being emotionless. Absolutely
Right.
not.
But see, this, like I said, this is a great example of that. This is what communication is all about. Knowing what someone else means by what they're saying, and so then you're actually having a dialogue, and if you're not talking about the same thing, then you figure that out instead of thinking you are. And it's like
And consider inner peace is more like a very flexible tree that can stand against a storm versus an inflexible one that always fights against the storm but ends up getting broken.
Not a bad analogy either. So Jonathan said at Canary 100% it was an educational experience to investigate whether there were darker workings I might want to do, and extremely liberating to discover I didn't want to do them. So that's always good to know what your boundaries are. Again, boundaries, always a good thing to know. And she says, yes, exactly. Canary says, I think I've watched too many emotional monks that just seem like robots.
I agree. There is a lot of that, and I don't deny it. They certainly aren't the type of people I would choose for my own gurus.
Yeah.
Because I feel like they had not accomplished, but instead had stopped short and found peace with where they were at.
And wanted everyone to join them.
Well, which is, I mean,
They're lonely. No.
Well, yeah, anyway.
Okay.
You gotta keep the heart in things or there's no point. Yeah.
The heart is the more important part anyway. Quill says, what do you think is the hardest thing for beginners, intermediates, or something that holds them back? Clarity, and the willingness to look at themselves and be okay with making mistakes and not knowing it all. And none of us, no matter how much experience we have, ever get to the point where we really know it all. So, being afraid to do something because you're not sure what the results might be holds a certain amount of people back. And it's not necessarily a bad thing that they might wait, but at some point you have to experiment and try. And I think the fear of failure and the fear of making a mistake holds people back more than most about anything as far as that goes. And that's why I did that video on, what's my purpose. It's like we all make mistakes. That's part of the learning process. If we didn't experiment and try things out and determine that something was a good idea or a bad idea based on the results, we would never find out anything about the universe at all around us. So yeah, that's probably it. And self-knowledge would be the other thing, because if you don't know what your own impulses are, if you don't know what things you need to work on for yourself, then you're not going to be effective at what you do, which is why people really encourage all of us to do the shadow work, to do counseling if we want to or need to, and work through those issues so we can be more clear.
It definitely helps clarity.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah.
And some people jump into it because they want to do a bunch of spells, they want to control their environment, they want to make it rain when they want it to rain, or they want to get money flowing through the door. The universe isn't really set up that way. That is a TV show, movie kind of approach to magic. The real point of being a person who deals with magical forces is that becoming the inner awareness of who we are, and becoming a co-creator with life itself, and becoming an active participant in the universe, so that we're not just being tossed around by the wind, but we're actually have some say as to which way we're going to go. But that only happens if we know who we are and where we are. You can't start a road in the middle of a storm with no landmarks. You got to have something to go by. So, okay. Writer says, I am happy with the way I work with spirit over 26 years, and it's great to know there is no end to it, always something new. Yeah, I like learning. Certainly makes life interesting. Jonathan says, Kung Fu Panda, one of the greatest movies of all time. Yes, I loved that movie too. That was actually kind of fun. And it involved food. Jessica Carver says, it has definitely helped me with my trauma and inner peace. Jaleesa says, hi Siofra, hi everyone. Hi Jaleesa, glad you made it. Alfuz the Dragon says, do you think we bring issues with us from previous lives, both good and bad? We can, definitely. Things we haven't worked through, haven't figured out. We may not know what they are, though. Jonathan says that Jessica, yes, the horror stories I have heard in this forum are chilling, but I sense there's always hope there behind the traumas. Yes. And that's the thing, is like the idea that just because we're good people means that we're going to have an easy and good life is a fallacy. Life is dangerous. The universe is dangerous. Everything eats something. And it's not about fairness. Balance is a long-term process.
You know what, though? I'll give you, I would say it's definitely better to be a good person than not, because you end up getting a result back.
Well, yeah, I would certainly agree with that.
It takes a while sometimes. You have to change all your thought forms and things over sometimes and get rid of them, but...
Yeah, that's actually been interesting, having actually here the first night she was here, or the first day she came over, she left a thought form, and then since then there haven't been any, even though she's sleeping in her house. So I guess our things are working to calm her thought forms down, because it hasn't been keeping me awake, and that's kind of nice. So Canary says, yeah, it's like there is just disassociate from everything and nothing matters. Like if we wanted that experience, we wouldn't come and incarnate here at all. Well, yeah. I don't know how anyone would want to have some of the things that have happened to us happen to us, for sure. We have a whole long way to go as a culture and a species. So Ryder says that, Jonathan, now you can feel. You've been holding out on us. Nisha says, back to the salt mines. Love you guys. Bye, Nisha. Thank you for joining us for your lunch break. Jessica says, Jonathan, yes, witchcraft along with church and therapy have made a huge difference with my trauma in just a year.
Yeah, me too. Magical stuff definitely helped with the trauma a large bit.
And I feel like I've grown more in 1 year than the last 10. Yeah, there's no doubt about it. When I first started, when I got Starhawk's book, The Spiral Dance, and I lived up in the Kispioks, it was all about working on myself and trying to understand that kind of stuff. That was the beginning of that. And so I think, like psychology has one part of it, magic has the other. It's like with magic, you can actually reprogram your subconscious and your unconscious. That's a way to access that, because the language is through ritual. Ritual is the language that speaks to the unconscious. And by using that language, I could change my own inner dialogue and help transform myself into someone I wanted to be. But I had to do the work, no doubt about it. Ms. Toyina says, aloha. So you must be coming from Hawaii. Hi. Ryder says, at Ian, very true. It's like the universe and spirit recognize a person striving to be good and makes things more interesting, and you feel included and noticed. Yeah. Yeah, sometimes noticed too often. But hey, me and the universe are pretty good now. It says, you want to do this? And I'm going like, no.
I don't know. The last thing I did was I told the universe, okay, universe, I'm going to go out and just show me what you've got for me, if you've got something for me. And that was the day that the very large woman banged into me, and I saved her from dying against the thing by getting squashed under her.
That was that day?
And yes, that was that day. I thought.
So he was a cushion.
So I helped somebody in a way by being in the right place at the right time, but
She would have broken her neck if she hadn't fallen against you.
I'll tell you, boy, was I startled.
Yes, you
And she
were.
weighed a ton. I don't know how much she weighed, but there's no way I was going to remain standing.
No,
So-
that was definitely it.
A
So,
little humor, I guess.
yeah,
Universe
never
has a sense
know.
of humor.
yes. So John Quinn says, I saw your video on wands. I have a pecan tree branch that fell when it was hit by lightning. Would there be any positive or negative to using that wood for a wand since it was hit by lightning? We've had this conversation before. Lightning struck wood can be very, very powerful and somewhat tricky.
Yeah, it depends on whether you buy the Native American stuff. They say a lot of times it can cause your skin on your hands to crack open.
Because it gets all crapply and dry. And
I don't know. I haven't researched where that comes from.
well, I would feel it out and see what comes. You know, there's no specific reason in my point of view for not using a piece of wood like that. And certainly it's going to be highly energized having met that much raw voltage, if nothing
Yeah.
else. So it might have an interesting kind of power. It's possible you could use it for weatherworking,
Yeah.
I'm thinking, as a wand. Just something I don't do, so I can't really give you any, advice on how to go about doing that. But that could be interesting. Canary says, my mystical side kept me sane. I genuinely don't know where I would be without it. Thank you for random woman for showing me Reiki those years ago and starting me on the path. Yeah, it's always interesting how you end up following the path. It's like there's so many different ways to find it. So Ryder says cushion.
Yep, that was me. Big
Oh.
cushion.
You were the cushion? Oh, right. That's right. You were the cushion she fell into. Yes. Ryder said hello to Ms. Toyana. And she says hi back. John says thank you. John Quinn. That must have been about the lightning struck wood branch. Yeah, I love my wands. And they all have such interesting and unique energy and stuff. It's like, they have personality, there's no doubt about it. And I talk to things. We're going to have a rock show next weekend, so I'm going to go to the Rock and Gem show, the local one, on Saturday, so I might have some new rocks when I come next week. We'll see if there's anything there. Mrs. Toyana says, this is the first joining your live stream. Well, welcome. Thank you for participating. We like having new people come in. Jonathan says, I would be stoked with lightning struck wand, 100% for the coolness factor. Cracked hands don't sound fun, but the coolness factor, whoa.
Yeah, well,
You
I
can
don't
use
know.
cream for the cracked hands.
I'm not sure I buy into that anyway, but I would think it would certainly have a more electrical effect from then on. Use it for things that you want to use for like firiness or electrical or activity, especially the activity, motion aspect of things, that type
Well,
of
as
thing.
opposed to the magnetic forces,
Right,
it would
which
certainly
is,
be attuned in with the electrical force.
Magnetic is slowing and stilling, and
and
electrical is
pushing
moving
in
and
and-
expanding out. Yeah.
Right, so like exploding and expanding, and just like lightning and whatnot. Canary says, if a lightning struck wand, I would definitely use it. Struck a wand, I would definitely use it. And Ryder says that Ms. Toyana, it can get very interesting here. If you have any questions, we love them. Jonathan says, Siofra, why didn't you use a wand during the healing circle? Because we were focusing, well, actually I did have some wands here during the healing circle, you just didn't see them. I had my Kaja wand to help with the connection around the planet, since we were all over the planet. I had my Venusian wand, which is one of my healing wands. I had my solar wand, which is also a healing wand, and for that, central energy and stuff like that. And I think I had my Mercury wand with me to help with communication. So they were behind me. You just didn't know they were here. I had them. I just didn't show them off, okay? So that was that. So Ryder says that Jonathan Siofra was the wand. Thank you. I like being a conduit. All right. Everybody thought that was pretty awesome. Yeah, so
Well, goodbye, Jessica.
I'm going to go. Nice meeting everyone. Bye, Jessica. Thank you for being here. Come again. We love to have people.
Hollywood.
Louise London, what do you think about the Hollywood from the holly tree? Oh, well, holly.
I would think defense right off the bat.
Well, because of the
because of spikiness.
spikiness. I think it's associated with fire. Holly is, as far as generally goes, but I have to look into some of the attributions. I think I was looking at holly for the idea of making a fire wand from that. Writer says, Carver, Jessica Carver, bye, take care. New Moon, hey all. Hi, New Moon. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, I got a lot of new people on this time.
We do, which is
Haven't been on here
awesome.
before.
We'll get fresh blood and fresh questions. It's always good to have. Jonathan said, keep well, Jessica. Yeah, so New Moon says, hello, first time too?
I guess that was my assumption. Maybe New Moon is not the first time. Maybe they just showed
Well,
up.
writer's asking at New Moon. Everyone's saying hi. I don't remember the name, but people can change their names too and be the same person and have a new name. So
Yes, like
all over. That happens. Louise says, your channel is very interesting. Thank you, Louise. I'm glad you find it interesting. We just wanted to put the information out there to share it with people because now we're in that age of information sharing. Melanie says, I've only been into spirituality for a year, and I found that a lot of different people on the internet are saying contradictory things. Could you give me some reliable books, websites? Okay, well, you know, that's the reason why we have this channel is because of all the contradictory things from people who don't have much experience, who don't know what they're talking about or saying on the internet. And it is difficult to find good good sources out there. I mean, the classics, of course, you're going to get a good understanding of it, like with Gardner or Buckland or Starhawk or Dion Fortune for the magical ceremonial kind of stuff, or Franz Barden for ceremonial kind of stuff. I mean, there are some definite good authors out there, but it depends on how far in the beginning you are.
yeah, and we haven't been so up on all the newest authors and things lately. I think I kind of found my pathway and don't read as much now as I used to.
Same here. It's one of those things when you get to the point where there's more experience than there's time to read. So, you know, you're learning things in real time. But the Spiral Dance is a good beginner text, I think. It has some good basic stuff in there, and it's a good explanation for things. And it sort of gives you, you know, I certainly found it useful for my first serious book on doing ritual kind of stuff to start with. But I read all kinds of things before that. You know, I read mystics. I read stuff about Edgar Cayce. I read Bonowitz's book Real Magic. I read Sybil Leek's Diary of a Witch, because those were the earlier books that came out in the 50s and 60s. I didn't even find out about Gardner for a long time, so that was sort of interesting. But, you know, it just depends on what you end up with. One thing to watch out for when you're trying to find valid information, if someone says that they know absolutely everything about a subject and they have no doubts, they're probably not a real person or a real source of information, because any of us that have experience know that we are always learning and we always are learning new things, and we can make mistakes and misunderstand people. So that would be my advice for that, and read multiple sources and find people that have experience, you know, who know what they're talking about. There are a group of elders out there, not just me, that have been doing this for a long time. I've been at this since I was little. I started, you know, Tarot, my first thing was Tarot, and that was in high school, so that was in like 1965 that I started learning the Tarot. So, you know, it's like you have to evaluate the information that you're looking at, and if somebody says some dire thing is about to happen and the apocalypse is on the way, don't worry about it, because they're probably wrong. Does it really matter what kind of wood you use for your wand?
I
Well, It depends upon what you're trying to do with it, and yes, it can matter. Did your thing not work right?
Yeah, I got a whole thing typed out over here.
And it didn't work.
I don't know. It took and put something in the middle of the word important and put another word in the middle there, and now it won't.
Oh, I hate it. It does that to me sometimes too. I don't know
I don't
why.
know. I
So
guess my
Canary
thing
says
just
at
isn't going to come out.
Menina, that is a mosh pit we all end up trying to navigate. Comes down to what is true to you. Are you Jessica? The timing is suspicious. Jonathan says, New Moon, are you Jessica? What's suspicious? Okay. Writer says, I received my 5,000 spells. Oh my, I love it. Yes, it's certainly fascinating.
So I don't know why, but apparently I can't type anymore.
Oh no, I'm so sorry, but you can speak.
Yeah.
I'm joking around. Jessica left a moment before you arrived. Okay. Well, oddly enough, my birth name is Jessica. That's hysterical. All right. We're getting some synchronicities here. Crudo 96 says, thank you a lot for advices. And Jonathan says, if that's not magic, nothing is.
Why? Sorry.
Yeah. Ian is over there frustrated because his keyboard apparently is not functioning at the
Well,
moment.
my keyboard is fine. The stupid app.
Yeah. Ms. Toyana says, eyeballs, blame it on the 80s.
Well, I've got a message here that I tried to type, and it won't finish typing it, and it won't finish putting it out, so I'm just kind of
Because
stuck.
you can only do a certain number of words and characters.
Really?
It stops you at certain characters. Yes, people have found that as a problem. That's why they end up with more than one message. That's what's going on. You've maxed it out.
Well, it would be nice if it would say something.
It would be. Gary says, tree spirits, we have 2 apple trees. They did not have apples for some time. We saw a figure or shape in the tree. Now we have apples. Yum. So we are going to give thanks. What offerings should we leave? Probably not apples, since they were giving you apples in exchange. But really, when it comes to giving spirits or trees or whatever gifts, anything that you give it that's from your heart, it will like. I sometimes give crystals to trees, especially ones I'm taking wands from, but if you're taking apples from the tree, you could give it a piece of rose quartz or, some other kind of stone that you like, a crystal or whatever. Some people leave money, and it's not that we know the tree doesn't spend money, but it's an exchange of energy, something that you earned that you can give in exchange for what the tree is giving to you. And it doesn't have to be a precise thing. When we were out in the woods and we didn't have anything with us except water, we gave a tree some water in exchange for the wand that it sort of fell off it into my hand kind of thing. So we have given sage that we grow in our garden, or rosemary, something else that you grow that's yours. Just thanking the tree, sitting under the tree, putting a little something there, like a statue for the tree.
It's like your intention.
That just says it's like, honoring this space, that this is
Again,
like
your
sacred
intention
space.
is more important than other stuff. So even if you don't have anything that's really appropriate for a tree, as long as you have the intention and liking for it to give it an offering.
Yeah, so Ryder says, it is a problem. New Moon says, a good drink of water. Ryder says, apple pie and cream. Canary says, a pear. Since they're giving you apples, you can give it a pear. Yeah, it's like all of these things are possible.
Yeah, it's more important that it means something to you.
Marcus says, a hug. Yes,
There you go.
and it's so long as you don't give it too many hugs. Apparently, trees can get distressed from too many hugs.
Who says?
Tree people. Yeah,
Okay.
there are some trees, like in famous parks, where they've put up signs and asked people to please not hug the tree because just so many people coming up
Really?
and hugging the tree distresses the tree.
Well, it's strange to imagine that many people doing that. Okay.
Yeah, but they probably wouldn't have to worry about that in their backyard. But if not a hug, just putting your hand on the tree and closing your eyes and saying, I thank you for the bounty that you are providing me and my loved ones. We will enjoy your fruit.
Yeah, see, and there's a good example where a lot of it happens through your feelings because, you give something to a tree and it might like it. It's not like it can do anything directly with it since it's kind of stuck there in place. So, but it still is effective, and that works mostly through your feelings of affection to the tree, and they can return the feeling.
Yeah, trees are very much into feelings, and they pay attention to us a lot more than like rocks, for example. So New Moon says personal space is important even for trees. Miss Toyana says I agree to that. Ryder says same, but I try to nicely get people to stop pulling off the branches.
Yeah, no kidding.
Ryder says once drunkenly gave a chicken nugget and a piece of half-eaten chocolate as an offering to the goddess Mayat. Mayat? I know that's not spelt right. Okay.
Oh, don't hug lampposts. They won't appreciate it. Keep hugging trees. They do appreciate it if it's not overdone, I guess.
Yeah, just don't overdo it.
There you go. You can also ask the tree
Ask
before
the
you
tree
hug
before
it.
you hug it. Respect plant space. They have feelings too. This is true, and everybody should always ask a person before hugging them because it's amazing how many people don't think that hugging someone is an intimate act, and they just come up and grab a hold of you to give you a hug.
It's true.
I want that kind of sign for myself. Yeah, see, we're just talking about that. I
Don't
didn't even
hug
see
this
that.
too much. Yeah.
Right. It's like, yeah, always ask permission to hug somebody. It's just not polite to not ask permission. In a matter of seconds, your loving post aged very poorly. Marcus says they keep constantly cutting trees in London. Consent is so important, says Tanya. Yes, it is. And that's how one of the ways you can develop boundaries is making other people realize they have to ask for consent. Teach them manners, for heaven's sake. I actually got in trouble once at massage school because the person I was working on came at me like this after the massage, and I backed up and put my hands up in the air, and I said, no, thank you, I don't want a hug. And boy, you would have thought that I had just, I don't know, committed some kind of a felony or whatever. He went to the teacher and said he was really worried about my career as a massage therapist because I had this problem of not hugging. I'm like, you're right, okay, dumbass. So the worst thing was what I tried to do worked. The worst thing was what I tried to do worked? Okay.
For the offering for...
Okay, I'm confused, but that's fine. Tanya, exactly. Good thing that I didn't know about some of the entities I do then. I do now then. I love having feelings. Okay. You guys are awesome. We just never know what the heck we're going to talk about when we do one of these shows. It's one of the things I like about them. Good questions. Huggy people can't fathom that others aren't always touchy like them. I know, it's true. It is a problem. But my clients at least know. I have one client who would love to hug me, but yeah, she can just want to hug me, and that's okay. She can want to do that, but I don't have to let her, so that's okay too. It's like, people that I know well, I don't have a problem with hugging them. It's just one of those things. But yeah, I had to stop going. I went to the Unity Church a couple of times, and I had to stop going there because they have zero boundaries. They have no boundaries. In fact, they encourage the lack of boundaries, and everybody hugs everybody and tells them that they love them, and it's just not, I don't like it. Quill says, I avoid huggy people. I feel like they drain me. Yeah. And if you are one of those kinds of people, that could be very much the case, that they could be. Canary says, there's someone in my life that keeps touching me and hugging me and cries when I don't want it, like there is something wrong with me. I used the broom on her, putting the broom in the corner to swish her out of your house. Yeah, some people just don't like other people having boundaries at all. Yeah, I avoid them too. Gary says, thank you. We wish people would hug trees rather than take them down. We need our trees. One of the things that is nice about the standing people is that if you make a friend of them, you always know where they are. The sad thing about the standing people is that if you leave, they can't come with you unless they come with you with a wand. And that's how I got my first wand, was taking a standing person with me so that I would still have that spirit. So Jonathan says, COVID really messed up my handshaking. I feel rude when a hand goes it goes unshaken. Yeah, COVID's messed up a lot of that kind of stuff. But it means that we can think about it and decide in person, you know. Bright Night says at new moon, but legit no magic, so I'm trying to find as much real as possible, and this channel is a relief for me. And when I get to second year, the year I can go out town, I will find some in the old. Okay. Awesome.
Well, thank you.
In the old. Yes. Okay, so we've hit our hour and a half mark, people. You know what that means. It's time for us to wrap up. So if any important things that need to be said right now would be a good time to say them. And but we won't be able to answer any more questions in depth because we're running out of time. One of our boundaries.
That's what I have to say. It's a black cat.
It's nothing. I didn't understand why someone came at me with an elbow because I chose not to what?
To watch TV, maybe.
To watch TV. Been lovely. Thank you for a good evening. Thank you guys. I know you're all from different parts of the planet and different time zones, so I appreciate all of you taking the time out to be here with us today. So this is good. Yes, we enjoyed it as well. Bright night. Take care. Have a peaceful night. Thank you, everyone. Have a good week. And of course, you can always contact me via email if you have any questions and you have any subjects that you're thinking of. So everybody have a happy Lammas, Lunasa, or happy Imolc, Bridget's Day.
Blessed be everybody.
Blessed be all of you. Good night.
See what I did there?
Yes.